And next up on our killer tier list for the B tier, we have, you guys see him, the Legion. Now, Legion is one of those killers who are a lot more balanced ever since he got his new rework, or not like a full rework, but a sort of buff, where after he smacks the first person with his Feral Frenzy, which is what his power is called, he can see their scratch marks for like the next 4 seconds, I think, which is a lot of time if you guys think of that. But as I was just talking about, Legion's power is called the Feral Frenzy, allows him to go extremely fast and hit multiple survivors at once, leaving them all into the mending state. And once he smacks one within like the next, I think, 20 meters or so, probably further, or he gets the natural instinct where it shows you where a survivor's aura closely is, and it only shows you a survivor's aura who has not been mended, or at least who is not in the mending state. If a survivor is injured but they're not in the mending state, it's still going to show you their aura. But continuing on, Legion is a lot more balanced of a killer. He has the base speed, 115%. He can be looped just like any other killer, as you guys can see in the video right here. But he is definitely not a weak killer at all. He can definitely demolish teams, but he can also be demolished by teams. Now, I think, as you guys probably don't know, but I think B tier killers are killers who are a lot more balanced. If you guys don't think that Legion's balanced, if you guys think he needs to leave the game, which I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that think that he does, I personally don't think so. I think he's very well balanced, but that's just my opinion. Let's move on to the next killer. And next up in the B tier, we have the Trapper. The Trapper has a very basic, well, power. He can set up, well, traps, bear traps, that is. If a survivor runs into an open bear trap, they get caught in it, and they have to either struggle out to get out themselves, unless you guys see that little purple add-on I have on the honing edge. If they do manage to get out themselves, they immediately get into the immediately go into the dying state, which is very good on Trapper. Sorry, I'm like brain farting right now. It's very good on Trapper because it either forces them to stay in that trap, or forces them to get out of that trap, and eventually probably get into the dying state. Their best bet is to have a survivor come and get them out of the trap. But that's only with the add-on Honing Edge, or Honing Stone. Everything else is a different story. Now, Trapper, he is not the biggest, powerfulest killer, but he's also nowhere near the weakest killer. He is pretty decent in strength. He can be looped, as you guys can see here, but he can also immediately destroy survivors with the blink of an eye, depending on how you play him, that is. If you know how to place your traps, you're going to end chases extremely fast. If you don't, then you're either going to get bullied or you're going to have a slight chance of winning. Now, Trapper, he's nowhere near as easy to learn as Billy is. And Billy is a very easy killer to learn, but I don't know, in my opinion, Trapper just takes a lot more time to get used to, since you have to think about where to place your traps. Like, I'm not a Trapper main like Otstarva and the King is. If you guys want a whole lot of Trapper tips, go ahead and ask them on their Twitches, etc., because I'm only giving off what I can see. Not a Trapper main, I'm more of a Huntress main. But let's move on to the next killer. Now get ready for this one, because in the next tier we have the Billy. Now, a lot of you are probably going to be extremely confused or even infuriated I have Billy this low on the tier list. Now, I have my reasonings, just listen out. First of all, this is the PS4 version. Secondly, I've gone against plenty of Billys, so I'm pretty sure I know a thing or two about what I'm talking about, so don't get too mad. And again, this is just my opinion. I think Billy belongs in the balanced tier. Now, with Billy, his power is the chainsaw, where he can go from one side of the map to the other side of the map. And of course, he has the Rotten Fields map, where things like that happen. Feels bad, man. Moving on forward, though, Billy can be looped just as easily as a Trapper can, or even as a Wraith can, if you don't play with the right. Now, with Billy, he has his chainsaw, gets it from one side of the map to the other side of the map. That's amazing. Now, if with these things going around, people gen rushing so much more now than ever before, games are a lot more harder to play, especially on killer side. That's why killers have been trying to switch a lot with no-ed, etc., and survivors are still getting mad, even though they do gen rush. But that's just my opinion, and I'm not trying to sound killer-sided or entitled killer at all. But going on ahead, the reason why I put Billy up here is because I feel like he is a very balanced killer, but he has a lot more flaws than just speed. Since even though to me, I've seen Billy's hit crazily. I think Billy has the longest lunge in the game, but that's just my opinion. Now, if you guys have any other thoughts on Billy, go ahead and leave comment down below. I'm always eager to hear what you guys have to say, whether you think a killer should be in a different tier, or if a low tier killer or a high tier killer should be in the lower or higher tier. It's complete. I'm always reading through the comments. You guys can tell me exactly what you think. I'll be reading through, but these are what I think for now. Let's go on to the next killer. And first up in the D tier, we have the Hag. Now, another killer y'all are going to be extremely surprised about. Reason why I put Hag up here is because she is just, oh my god, she is god-awful, in my opinion at least. It's so crazy to have survivors just doing random shit, especially when you have traps down and they are able to find them. I don't know, traps are Hag's traps are just way too easy to find. And no matter how dark or light they are, survivors are always going to find them, especially ones who have flashlights, where they can just burn them out on the spot. Hag is also a small killer. She can't see over. She can't see over a lot of things, which is kind of hard to try and mind game a survivor. If anything, the best she has is just going from one side of the map to the other side of the map with long range add-ons, or using the perk Monitor and Abuse, which really helps in these situations, as you guys are seeing. Other than that, she's just, I don't know, she's just pretty awful to me. I don't know, you guys probably, I'm not a Hag main, I don't play Hag for a living. You guys who probably play Hag a lot more than I do probably have more of an idea. But I don't know, this is just my opinion. Let's move on. Next up in the tier list is the Doctor. If you guys were expecting this guy to be a lot more higher, then you're probably new to my channel as well. Doctor, oh my god, he is god-awful as well. He's worse than Hag in my opinion. His best is his power, which is just shocking survivors. Yeah, that's really it. I'm sure there's a lot more to Doctor that I probably either don't understand, or Doctor mains understand that I just can't seem to fathom. But as you guys are going to be seeing right here, his best opportunity is at unsafe pallets, where an unsafe pallet is if the killer can get from one side to the other side without having to do much traveling, and the survivor has to either go one side or another, or can easily be juked. Now, this killer can, oh god, it's best to have probably save the best for last or gen perks on this guy, because you cannot get a lot of pressure with this dude. If anything, and if you do shock a survivor, your speed goes down a lot, and if they're able to pull down the pallet fast enough or juke you out, then they're just further apart, and the chases go on longer. The best part will probably be to either stop chasing someone, which is what I had to decide to do in a few seconds right here, or continue chasing them and probably get gen rushed down. Now, this right here is why I say Doctor is pretty horrible. I've only smacked one person, and there's already been a full generator, about to be a second generator done. But it's probably because of the map, or that I'm not playing him right, because the best map for Doctor is the game, or the Getting Meat Plant. But oh well. Have fun getting that map with like 2,000 other maps to get, and variations. But moving on, let's go on to the next killer. Next up in the tier list, we have Ghostface. Now, this is not a direct attack towards Mr. Misanthropy. If you guys don't know who that is, check him out. He is a Ghostface main. Now, this is my opinion, as I've been saying for all of these freaking tiers. Ghostface is, god, he's horrible. His best thing is his stalking, and that's it. And he can easily be broken out within like 4 seconds. 3 seconds at even. But he's not like Myers, where he can just stalk whenever he wants and the survivor can't do anything but hide or run away. But with Ghostface, the only time he's unable to be stalked out is if he's leaning across a corner and the corner is blocking him entirely. His best move right here, where you can get a smack off on unsuspecting survivors, where apparently they're doing a trade of items. Other than that, it's a lot more harder to just find survivors, especially if they're spread out. Lucky for me though, all these survivors were near the same area, so I didn't need to worry about that too much. And we're on the game map, which is indoor maps like Larry's, Hawkins, and Getting Meat Plant. They are amazing for Ghostface, but we're just talking about Ghostface in general, not maps. Open maps like Blood Lodge is horrible for him. Moving on though, his best way is just getting sneak attacks. His stalking takes a lot, and I mean a lot of time to stalk a survivor. If you're leaning, it goes by faster. If you're not, it's going to take at least like probably 8 seconds at most, if you're just standing there stalking. And they can break you out before you even get halfway. And here's the worst part about it: if you stalk a survivor and then smack them, they lose their stalk, which kind of sucks. So the best way is just to try and play it out as much as you can. Right here, as you guys see, leaned, and that's how I got 2 that were apparently injured, fully stalked, which didn't matter in the slightest. Moving on though, this is where I think Ghostface belongs. If you have any suggestions or differences you want to make, or clearances, comment down below. I'm sure I'll read them. Next up on our tier list, we have a very horrible killer, the Pig. Now, the only good part about the Pig is she has a rework coming soon. Or at least a buff coming soon. The devs said it themselves. They're going to be thinking of a buff for Piggy soon. Don't know what it is. No ideas what it can be. Or what it could be. Not can be. That made no sense. Moving on. Her power. She can crouch and go undetectable. That's it. If she crouches, she can ambush, which she moves extremely fast. I think she moves at like 200% speed, probably more. And the best she can do is get grabs like that, which sometimes don't work for some weird reason. And people think they can flashlight a Piggy and not still chase them, especially if they're going the easiest way and all getting cornered right there. Pig's ability, the traps. Every time she downs a survivor, she can put a trap on their head, and the moment a generator activates, the traps get activated for 2.5 minutes. And the survivor have a full 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get the traps off their head. But that also only depends if a trap gets activated not before or after a freaking trap gets put on their head. If a generator gets put on as you're putting on the trap, it's probably going to activate. If it's anywhere before, it's not going to activate, and you have to wait until the next gen. And by the time of the first gen for their things to happen, they've most likely already searched at least 2 to 3 boxes, or at least have gotten it off on the first try with their lucky chances. But Pig is just god-awful. She is extremely horrible. Luckily, though, I went against a horrible team, but that's a reason for another day. Let's move on. Now, first up in the F tier, we have Bubba. Now, if you guys are wondering why Bubba is in dead last, it's because, personally, to me, he's not the worst killer at all. And it's mostly because of his insta-down chainsaw attack, which is even better with his 2 green add-ons that make it go faster and cooldown go faster. Or at least go by faster. And the reason why I say this is because it is extremely fun to play Bubba. Don't mind my build. I was doing this for a challenge and completely forgot to change it. So don't mind Insidious, don't mind the other 2 perks, except the only perk that I normally have on him is Monitor and Abuse. The other 3 are whatever perks. Except, we're not talking about his perks, we're talking about his tier and how good he is. Now, Bubba, he can either be deadly or he can be goddamn ridiculous. Yes, I did that. I am not walking out. Moving on. Bubba's insta-down chainsaw is really his only good thing that has. Unlike Billy, he can insta-down more than 1 people. Good luck trying to get down at least more than 1 person in the 1 chainsaw link, though. It is extremely difficult. Yes, I do know that I have been traveling around this game, because it took some freaking time to find the survivors. Now, his chainsaw, we're just going to keep referring to his chainsaw, I guess, is extremely useful. It can instantly take down pallets, whether you've been smacked by a pallet or not, or if they bring it down too much, or if you go way too close into the middle of the pallet and you get smacked down, and they pull down the pallet, my bad, then, oh, have fun. Because you're not going to be getting that pallet broken, you're going to get stunned. And then you're just going to be sitting there in a big raging fuel while you just got stunned by a pallet and also hitting into survivors. But to me, I don't think Leatherface is the worst killer. He's nowhere near the worst killer. The last 2 killers we're going to have is definitely the worst killers. Me, I've said this. My teammates have said this. You know, Toxic Blade, Ted, Misanthropy, etc., etc. Even a lot of people in the community have said this. Now, the only person who I think doesn't say this is True Talent. But True Talent plays on PC, and this is for PS4 edition, so strap y'all belt seats, because we ain't stopping yet. We got 2 more. Let's go. Next up in the F tier list, we have the Clown. If you guys need me to explain too long about how horrible Clown is, strap yourselves in a seat, because we can go through an entire book of a 12-hour freaking live stream, and I'll still be talking about how horrible Clown is. Now, let's start off with about a 45, probably 30-second long short version of it. Firstly, his power is absolute garbage. He throws around bottles, and it slows down survivors, and even though he can get pretty fast, he's really bad. He has no gen pressure, he has no map pressure, he has none of that. It's his bottles, and if you use them all, if you don't have add-ons, it takes about 4 or 5 seconds at most just to refill them, and you only get 4. Now, again, I went against a whole lot of horrible survivors. Horrible survivors, not the killer, I swear. So I was able to do pretty fun. But it was still completely horrible. His bottles slow down survivors. If you have add-ons, look how long this reload bottles. Look how long it takes. See, that's a lot of time wasted where I could have picked them up, went to a put them on a hook, moved on with my life. No, I had to sit there for about 4 to 5 seconds trying to reload bottles because that's the only thing his power does. Other than that, he's just an M1 killer, and M1 killers are absolute trash. That's it from me. Let's move on. And lastly, the worst killer in the game on PS4 edition is the Wraith. If you guys did not see this coming, I don't know what you expect. Wraith is just god-awful. His power, he can uncloak and uncloak himself to go invisible. What's this do? Absolutely nothing. He can go invisible. Survivors can either barely see him or not see him at all, depending if he stands still or moves. He can't attack, and unless you have add-ons to make him go faster, he is just an M1 killer that can't even M1 when he's cloaked. The only thing he can do is surprise attack survivors, and survivors are most likely going to see him because of how freaking invisible he is. And how cloaked he is. Because you can see him moving. It's really not hard, especially in an open field. The best you can have is probably the yellow add-on, the Coxcomb Clapper, where it makes things a lot more harder for them to dictate where you are, but that's pretty trash nonetheless. Moving on, Wraith has no map pressure. He has no gen pressure, he has no survivor pressure, he has none of that. He can go from one side of the map to the other side of the map just as fast as the Clown can reload his bottles. And that is extremely slow. Other than that, I don't know what you guys else expect me to say about Wraith. He's just god-awful. I don't know why people think he's a freaking god tier. And someone screwed up a flashlight right here. I don't know why people think that he's so good. He is not. Nowhere in the best. Nowhere near the best. He's the worst. I think I've made my point. This is the end of the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. See you guys in the next video. This is Jack the Jolteon. Peace.